Jaws wasn't just a shark movie, it invented the modern summer blockbuster and reshaped how Hollywood markets big films, releasing in over 400 theaters and smashing box office records. These are 20 hidden details you completely missed in Jaws. Number 20. Because the mechanical sharks kept breaking down during the shoot, Steven Spielberg used barrel tracking tricks and camera point of view shots to imply the shark's presence rather than show it directly. The decision was born from desperation, not creative vision. Production designer Joe Alves later confirmed in interviews that the malfunctions forced the entire approach to suspense building. The first extended look at the shark comes well after the suspenseful buildup, nearly an hour into the runtime. Watch the early attack scenes closely, and you'll notice the shark is suggested through thrashing water, blood clouds, and panicked reactions. The barrels became the most reliable visual indicator of where Bruce was supposed to be lurking. This accidental restraint created tension that made the film far more terrifying than originally planned. Number 19. 3 full-sized animatronic sharks were built for the film by production designer Bob Mattei, who had worked on the squid in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. All 3 sharks corroded damage and rough ocean conditions off Martha's Vineyard. The uneven motion and stilted movements during shark shots were due to frequent mechanical failures that plagued the production daily. Crew members nicknamed the sharks Bruce after Spielberg's lawyer, Bruce Raymer, turning the constant frustration into dark humor. Each shark weighed 1.2 tons and cost approximately $150,000 to build. The hydraulic systems designed for fresh water couldn't handle the corrosive salt environment. When you watch the final attack sequences, the jerky movements weren't artistic choices, but visible evidence of machinery barely holding together. Number 18. Jaws, one of the first major films shot extensively on the Atlantic Ocean off Martha's Vineyard, not in controlled tanks, creating real environmental challenges. Waves, sun glare, and real weather appear in many ocean scenes, giving the film an authentic texture impossible to replicate in a studio. Cinematographer Bill Butler had to adapt constantly to changing light conditions and unpredictable swells that made camera stability nearly impossible. The production originally planned a 55-day shoot but stretched to 159 days due to ocean conditions. Watch background shots during the Orca sequences and you'll spot real sailboats drifting into frame, forcing retakes and continuity headaches. The salt air damaged cameras and sound equipment daily. Butler later called it one of the most technically demanding shoots of his career. Number 17. 2 42-foot versions of Quint's boat were built for the production by the Gibbs Boat Company in Massachusetts. The second version had no motor and was specifically rigged to sink on command for the climactic sequence. The sinking scene carries real dramatic weight because it was a practical effect filmed in real time with actors aboard. Production crews spent weeks preparing the controlled sink, using carefully placed flotation devices that could be removed in sequence. When you watch the Orca go down, that's actual wood and metal disappearing beneath the Atlantic, not miniatures or optical effects. Naval architect Lynn Murphy designed both boats to look authentically weathered and used. The sinking took 3 takes to capture correctly, with divers stationed underwater to ensure actor safety throughout. Number 16. Roy Scheider famously ad-libbed the line, "You're gonna need a bigger boat," and it became one of Jaws' most quoted catchphrases in film history. The phrase was actually an inside joke among the crew about the cramped production barge they worked from daily. Scheider's expression makes the moment unforgettable, capturing genuine shock at coming face to face with the shark. Script supervisor noted that the line wasn't in any draft of the screenplay by Peter Benchley. Spielberg kept the take because the delivery felt spontaneous and authentic, perfectly capturing Chief Brody's overwhelming realization. Scheider repeated variations of the line throughout filming as a running gag, but only this single take made the final cut. Number 15. Writer Howard Sackler and screenwriter John Milius scripted the USS Indianapolis speech, but Robert Shaw added lines and delivery choices during filming. The speech recounts the real World War II sinking of the USS Indianapolis, which delivered components of the atomic bomb before being torpedoed, leaving 900 men in shark-infested waters. Shaw reportedly wrote out his own version the night before filming, incorporating historical details and personal touches. The scene was filmed twice because Shaw arrived drunk for the first attempt and asked Spielberg for a second chance the next day. The sober version showcases his theatrical training, using pauses and vocal control to build dread. Close-ups of Quint deliver the speech as one of the film's most memorable character moments. Number 14. Richard Dreyfuss initially turned down the role of marine biologist Matt Hooper, later accepting because he feared a lull in his career after appearing in American Graffiti. The actor thought Jaws would be a minor thriller that might keep him working while searching for more prestigious projects. Hooper's earnest, curious energy adds depth to the scientific side of the hunt, balancing Quint's brute machismo and Brody's everyman fear. Dreyfuss admitted in later interviews that he underestimated both the script and Spielberg's vision for suspense. His improvisational style clashed initially with Shaw's theatrical precision, creating on-set tension. Watch Dreyfuss during the cage dive sequence and you'll see real anxiety as he was genuinely nervous about being underwater surrounded by malfunctioning mechanical sharks. Number 13. Many of the beachgoers and townspeople seen around Amity Island were actually local residents from Martha's Vineyard, hired to fill crowd scenes. Casting director Sherry Rhodes recruited islanders through newspaper ads and community meetings, looking for real faces instead of professional extras. The crowd shots and beach scenes feel lived in and authentic because these weren't actors pretending to be tourists, but actual vineyard families. Local selectman Robert Carroll played the man who argues with Mayor Vaughn about closing the beaches after the first attack. Watch the town meeting sequences and you'll recognize genuinely concerned faces reacting to news of shark attacks. Production paid low $30 per day, providing welcome income during what was normally peak tourist season but became disrupted by the massive film crew presence. Number 12. Actress and stuntwoman Susan Backlany played Chrissy Watkins, the first shark victim swimming alone at night before being violently dragged under. The opening swim scene remains one of the film's most iconic moments, setting the tone for terror with minimal gore. Backlany was attached to cables operated by crew members pulling her in different directions to simulate the shark's attack. She wasn't told exactly when the pulls would happen, creating genuine shock reactions captured on camera. Watch her face during the attack, and those screams are partially real responses to unexpected yanks from the cables below. Stunt coordinator Dick Warlock designed the sequence to look chaotic and violent while keeping Backlany safe. The actress later appeared in Spielberg's 1941 as an inside joke reference to her Jaws death scene. Number 11. The legendary two-note shark theme by composer John Williams became inseparable from suspense cinema and won an Academy Award for Best Original Score in 1976. The rising duh-duh motif appears every time the threat is near, training audiences to feel dread before seeing any danger. Williams composed the theme using low brass and strings to create a primal, predatory sound that mimicked a shark's relentless approach. Spielberg initially thought Williams was joking when the composer first played the simple two-note progression on piano during a spotting session. The score's simplicity became its power, with the tempo increasing to signal the shark closing in. Listen closely during the beach attack sequence, and you'll hear the theme weaving through panicked crowd noise, directing viewer attention underwater. Number 10. Before Jaws, summer was considered a weaker theatrical season when studios dumped lower quality films while audiences spent time outdoors. The wide release strategy and massive $2 million marketing campaign from Universal Pictures changed how studios launched films forever. The film opened in 409 theaters simultaneously, unprecedented for the era. Producer Richard Zanuck and David Brown convinced Universal executive Sid Sheinberg to spend heavily on television advertising, saturating networks with spots during prime time. The saturation release model meant audiences across America saw Jaws at the same moment, creating shared cultural conversation and word-of-mouth momentum. Previous wide releases typically meant 200 to 300 theaters, making this launch unusually aggressive. The success proved summer could be Hollywood's most profitable season, fundamentally restructuring the industry's release calendar. Number 9. Jaws earned more than $100 million in the United States within 40 days of release, and became the highest-grossing film of all time until George Lucas's Star Wars dethroned it in 1977. Crowd scenes of audiences exiting theaters amid Jaws mania became news stories themselves, with reports of lines wrapping around city blocks. The film eventually grossed $260 million domestically during its initial theatrical run, a staggering number for 1975 dollars. Universal executives were so surprised by the returns that they extended theatrical runs through the fall and into winter. International box office added another $210 million, making Jaws the first film to cross $400 million worldwide. Theaters reported audiences staying for multiple showings. The financial success gave Spielberg creative freedom for his entire career and proved young directors could deliver massive commercial hits. Number 8. The film drew inspiration from real shark attacks in 1916 along the New Jersey shore that killed 4 people and injured 1, grounding its fear in true events. Author Peter Benchley researched the Jersey Shore attacks while writing his 1974 novel that became the film's source material. Chrissy's opening attack echoes the historical incident, incidents, particularly the death of Charles Vincent, who was killed while swimming in beach shallows. The 1916 attack sparked widespread panic and led to a shark being caught and killed, with human remains found inside its stomach. Benchley also drew from a 1964 incident when fisherman Frank Mundus caught a 4,500-pound great white shark off Long Island. The connection to real events added psychological weight for audiences who understood that shark attacks, while rare, actually happened. Number 7. There were documented cases of viewers experiencing severe stress reactions and anxiety about swimming after seeing Jaws, showing its powerful emotional impact on public psychology. Beach attendance severely dropped in summer 1975 in coastal areas where the film played heavily, though tourism officials disputed exact numbers. Therapists noted patients developing new phobias related to water and sharks following theatrical viewings. The film's visceral attack scenes and John Williams' score created lasting associations between swimming and danger in viewer minds. Watch the beach scenes after Chrissy's death and notice how Spielberg uses underwater point-of-view shots to make audiences feel vulnerable in any water. Psychologists studying the phenomenon noted that the film's realism made the threat feel immediate despite low statistical probability of shark attacks. Number 6. Jaws contributed to lasting fear and misconceptions about great white sharks as mindless man-eaters, and this negative image persisted for decades in popular culture. Cultural imagery of sharks in media after Jaws often mirrors production designer Joe Alves' mechanical shark design, with gaping mouths and dead eyes becoming visual shorthand for ocean danger. Marine biologists noted increased public hostility towards sharks following the film's release, with sport fishermen actively hunting great whites as trophies. Conservation organizations reported that shark populations declined through the 1970s and 1980s, partly due to negative perceptions amplified by the film's success. Author Peter Benchley, who wrote the original novel, later became a vocal shark conservation advocate and regretted contributing to their vilification. Scientists spent years trying to rehabilitate shark images after Jaws embedded fear across generations. Number 5. Author Peter Benchley and Spielberg later expressed regret about how the movie influenced the perception of sharks, contributing to shark hunting despite being fiction. Benchley became a vocal shark conservation advocate before his death in 2006, working with marine organizations to protect species he'd villainized in his novel. Spielberg stated in interviews that he wouldn't make Jaws the same way today, knowing the ecological consequences of demonizing an already vulnerable predator. Real conservation imagery contrasts sharply with the film's portrayal of sharks as vengeful monsters rather than apex predators maintaining ocean ecosystem balance. Both men emphasize that great white sharks rarely attack humans, and that most incidents result from mistaken identity. The film's cultural impact proved impossible to reverse, with Jaws becoming synonymous with shark danger worldwide. Number 4. Originally budgeted around $3.5 million, Jaws ended up costing approximately $9 million due to delays, ocean shoots, and mechanical problems. Universal executives grew increasingly nervous as costs mounted, and the schedule expanded by more than 100 days. Producer David Brown had to repeatedly reassure studio heads that Spielberg hadn't lost control despite the mounting expenses and technical disasters. The mechanical sharks alone consumed a significant portion of the budget, with repairs and replacements needed almost daily. Watch the final film, and every minute of shark footage represents hours of troubleshooting hydraulic systems. The budget overruns nearly cost Spielberg his career before it truly started, with studio executives questioning whether the 27-year-old could handle a major theatrical feature. Number 3. Filming on the open Atlantic brought unpredictable weather, drifting sailboats, and equipment failures, making the shoot one of the most challenging in Spielberg's early career. Crew members had to chase down recreational boaters who wandered into shots, disrupting takes and forcing expensive resets. The production used a flotilla of boats, including camera barges, support vessels, and the 2 Orca versions, all of which had to be coordinated in changing seas. Salt corrosion destroyed cameras, sound equipment, and lighting rigs. Editor Verna Fields later estimated that 40% of ocean footage was unusable due to technical problems or continuity errors. Spielberg told interviewers he would never film on open water again, a promise he largely kept throughout his subsequent career, choosing controlled environments instead. Number 2. Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss reportedly had tensions off-screen that informed their on-screen dynamic and added authentic depth to their conflict aboard the Orca. Shaw, a classically trained theatrical actor, found Dreyfuss's method approach and improvisational style unprofessional and irritating during shoots. Dreyfuss later admitted he was young and cocky, behaviors that rubbed the older actor wrong during stressful filming conditions. Watch the scene where Quint mocks Hooper's hands and you'll see real contempt in Shaw's delivery, not just character work. Spielberg recognized the tension and used it to enhance their characters' class conflict, the working class shark hunter versus the educated scientist. The animosity never never became unprofessional, but added an edge to their performances that purely acted conflict might have lacked. Number 1. The film's success changed Hollywood's release strategies forever, pioneered the summer blockbuster model, and embedded itself in global pop culture for half a century. The movie proved that genre films could be both commercially massive and artistically respected, earning Academy Award nominations for Best Picture. Merchandising became a major revenue stream, with Jaws toys, games, and tie-in products generating millions beyond ticket sales. The film spawned 3 sequels, including Jaws 2 in 1978, and influenced countless imitators, establishing the creature feature template for decades. Watch any modern blockbuster's marketing campaign and you'll see Jaws' fingerprints in the saturation advertising and wide release strategy. Spielberg's accidental masterpiece became the blueprint for how Hollywood makes and sells event movies, a legacy that continues reshaping the industry today. Jaws left an indelible mark on cinema, audience psychology, and culture. The mechanical failures forced creative solutions that made the film more suspenseful than anyone planned. From improvised lines to real ocean chaos, the movie's most memorable elements emerged from accidents rather than careful planning. Which hidden detail surprised you most, and what film should we open next?